you want to just ask yourself, like, what seems to be causing the stress response right now? And if you can't think of something, maybe something's just already stored in the body and it's just arising for you. There's no point in disproving that. You can't, you're obligated to feel it. I'm teaching specific techniques, the specific hacks on the left, the 5 hacks. But in practice, we're going to use a combination of these. We need to locate which hack we need in which moment. So we don't want to ever use disproving thoughts to bypass feeling. So if something's coming from the bottom and it's just arising because it was stored in the body, and then we're trying to disprove it, that's a bypass. Not helpful. Okay, when we try to disprove thoughts, it's when this is the old chart. So when I have thoughts and I'm believing them in real time, I'm creating emotions in real time. And if I disprove it, I stop creating them. That's when it's helpful and frees us. However, if my stored emotions in my body are arising and I'm feeling emotions, disproving does nothing. That's all the way up here, right? Disproving is just a way to mentally manage and suppress them further. It'll never work because it's this. You can know what it is, but it's stored in your body from when you were 12. And so when this arises, you don't use one of these hacks up here, right? You use the ones corresponding here. You use the hack corresponding to the level, but you do need to ask yourself what level. Oh, this happened when I was 12. It's here. Almost always, it's going to be here. Now, sometimes something happened when I'm 12 and I keep recreating it. Oh, and that means this about me and I'm horrible. So I keep experiencing. So even though it happened when I'm 12, I still have to disprove that I'm horrible. But if it's simply when I do the dishes, that's the trigger, then my old stuff gets triggered and I feel emotions in real time. Now, what do? I disidentify. I realize I am not the emotion, but I need to befriend it. I need to make friends with this feeling, and you need to meet that 12-year-old self with the kindness. So you don't have to think of it as a 12-year-old, but that's the level of tenderness and kindness you give. But then you look at it physically, wherever it arises, and then you give it your quality of attention, which is kind and loving and not judgmental. And if it's hard to love, sometimes it is, we've been taught we're not worthy of it, then you just look at you give it the attention of a scientist, the neutral, curious attention of a scientist. So you meet this 12-year-old in that way, with the quality of your presence and awareness, and in a physical, tangible way with the feelings. We don't go way into the mind, like, oh, I need to say all this stuff. Sometimes we do, but we're not trying to manipulate it. We have to actually see it physically with trauma. We want to do it via the body. And for something else, that same day, you might need to go up to the top. That you got to disprove. That's important. Our childhood wounds are an opportunity for self-intimacy. And I wonder if it's possible to reframe this, whenever you do the dishes, this is an opportunity to meet my 12-year-old self. Because if I think of it as, oh, great, I have to do that. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with this. Of course you would think that. Any person would think, oh, I have to do this, I have to feel that stuff. But if we keep doing that, we're perpetuating that experience. It's like you're 12 again, and it gets perpetuated every day, right? And they talk, a lot of enlightened people talk about being present while doing the dishes. Like it's such, have you heard, it's such a common thing they talk about, that you have a daily practice that you're almost forced to do, but it could be an opportunity. I want to meet this 12-year-old and tell him that he's worthy of love, and that I want to hear how he feels about what happened. And I want to see him, because he keeps trying to communicate with me every time I do. Sorry, I'm going to cry. He keeps trying to communicate with me every time I do the dishes, and I haven't learned how to hear him. Yeah. And I want to really hear him. You understand, but I'm going to pause you to slightly correct your wording, not because you said anything wrong, but because the pointers for this work are very important. It's so subtle. Okay. So you said solution. So solution is that 12-year-old is a problem. That's what that's implying. Right. But I understand you want a solution to your daily pain. Then you said melt away the emotions. We want to heal this child. So start framing it in this way of love, because he didn't deserve to be treated that way. He's not a problem. His reaction is exactly how somebody would react if they're not treated properly. If there's no space for them to emote, to say, I don't want to do this. This is how I feel. You need to give him what he didn't get. But it's, of course, you're going to, automatically go to what your programming was. He didn't matter, so he internalizes that. I don't matter. Oh, this is a problem. I got to get rid of it. We don't want to keep oppressing ourselves with our old conditioning and our old traumas. We have to give this trauma something, the thing it never received, the absolute opposite treatment. So when you're doing dishes, it's an opportunity to just like get really tender with, maybe you meditate before you do dishes, you ground, and then you have this moment where you're just like, hey chap, or whatever you call 12-year-old boys, like, hey buddy, can you tell me how you felt when that happened? I know nobody held space for you and nobody heard you. I really want to. I'm sorry I didn't before. I never knew, because I bought into all those things I was taught. And I was taught by people who also bought those things. But now that I'm learning more about my emotions, now I see that you're not a problem. And I'm sorry if I made you feel that. Like, talk to him as if he's actually a 12-year-old boy standing in front of you. And you're going to be like, tell me everything. Tell me everything you went through when you were 12. Isn't that how you would talk to like a best friend or someone you love? You'd be like, I want to know. You don't have to be strong, quotes, anymore. Let it all out, man. Like, I'm here. Like, I'll be the strong one. So adult you, and let this young one cry and scream and complain and be angry and welcome it. Welcome. The only problem with these emotions is that they're being resisted. There's no other problem. It's a natural reaction of a 12-year-old boy, completely normal. But he was told it wasn't, or he didn't have the opportunity to know. How does that sound for you?